Bye, Bob.
So yeah, Bob Bakish, the Battle of the Bobs. One Bob is gone. Bob Bakish, Paramount Global boots Bob Bakish as CEO.
You know what's funny
names
is
new
this isn't.
leadership team of 3 executives.
As I say, this isn't even the big story. The big
What's the
story
big
was
story?
their earnings call yesterday. Did you hear that?
No, well, I don't have part of it, but I will let you cover that now. Actually, to be fair,
Yeah, no, you didn't miss anything. It was like
we didn't
literally
learn
8
anything.
minutes.
Yeah, and
They
that
come
was
on, they go, Bob was great. We got a lot of plans for the company. See ya. Like that was all it was.
it
No
was very
questions.
bad.
No questions and bye. Yeah.
It was very bad. I think the compliance statements were 2 minutes of that 8 minutes.
Oh, they did. I think they did say we did well with the Super Bowl, and then they pieced out.
Oh, yeah, no, it's like, yeah, we didn't lose quite as much money. Bye.
It was weird because we were like Andre and I were on with Valiant, and if you've ever listened to these calls, they go for generally about a half hour,
45
or so,
minutes.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like this is the strangest one we'd ever heard, and we'd heard some strange ones in the last year or so, especially with Disney, right? This was just insane, and we all knew Bob was going to probably exit. So, like I said, that's not even really the big story here. The big story is just it's not really a circus, but it was just kind of a quick, like, nothing to see here, no questions later. Like they were not going to take any questions about anything.
They weren't. Nobody was going to be prepared. All they had to do was come out, do the call, and present the documentation, which was already done. I mean, the weirdest thing to me, and this is something I'd reported before this call even happened, that they were going to end up having multiple execs try and run the company, and they might cycle through them. Well, guess what they did? They brought out 3 execs to be co-CEO, basically. It's really
which they already bring Brian Robbins up like last year or the year before from Nick.
Yeah,
he used to be the president of Nickelodeon. Now he's the head of Paramount Studios, I believe.
Yeah. George Cheeks, Chris McCarthy, and it's a very
there
weird...
was somebody else, Nivea something or other.
Yeah,
is her name?
Yeah. Very weird.
Well, the Paramount Global loses how much every single month? Paramount Plus, sorry.
We don't have a number for that. I was trying to figure that out yesterday. Because they're actually
billion in debt still, isn't it?
Yeah, they're well, and you got to understand though, they're all in debt with this shit.
Yes, but they've not been able to write any more down the sort of
no. But I would say their culture. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We now know where like Peacock is, right? Like they've admitted they lose $7 million a day.
Yep.
And the thing is with them, and I've been trying to tell people, they're actually in better shape than anybody else, probably. Why? Because of all the streamers, they spend probably the least on overhead as far as original productions and stuff like that, because a lot of it's amortized over from NBC and stuff like that. Paramount Plus and Disney, on the other hand, are probably the top 2 that spend the money for original material. Now,
absolutely,
Paramount Plus is actually in a little bit better shape than we had anticipated from yesterday's, because they actually did put out the information. And we spend most of the time going through that stuff, which is what they should have done on the call, but they didn't. So Paramount Plus is probably somewhere between, if Netflix is doing the best and Amazon Prime is right behind them, I would say the next one in line would probably be either Paramount Plus or HBO Max at this point, as far as being good, with basically Peacock being shoved in between there just because they're losing the least amount of money is what I would say. So they're not the worst on the block, but they're not the best either. Like they're probably losing the least amount of money compared to Disney, right? Like Disney's definitely spending more money, but Disney also has a lot more subscribers. So it's kind of a, yeah, and I'm curious how Culture sees this, because he covers this a little bit more in depth than I do as far as the number wise goes. So yeah.
Not looking at the current numbers, though. I mean, one of the biggest problems that you can see here as far as financial health goes, their debt to equity ratio is fairly consistent right now. And they're about 63% debt to equity ratio. That is terrible.
Who are we talking about? Sorry, Paramount.
Paramount Global.
Wow.
Paramount Global is in rough shape. They're as compared to their market capitalization. It is. I don't think I've seen. That's bad. They actually got in March. They got cut to junk status. That's how bad they are.
So why was Bob Bakish binned off so quickly then? Because apparently this all stems from what I can take a look at. Anyway, it stems from him disagreeing with the Skydance sort of buyout of Paramount or merger with it.
There's a lot that goes into that. Like the problem we have here, Sherry Redstone controls the votes. And what Skydance wants to do is basically just buy her shares. And then they'll have controlling interest in Paramount. And this is my understanding from what we talked about yesterday.
Yep.
And that does not sit well with the other shareholders because they're kind of feeling like they're being left out of this. And then now, so Skydance put in their new final offer, which was a bit more in favor of the other shareholders. But Bob was going to be out anyway, right? Like that's what I was trying to say from the start. Like as soon as the company, because they're getting to the point where I think the deadline for them to accept Skydance's deal is coming up Friday, if I remember right, from what Valiant Renegade.
Yeah, it's very, very soon.
So we all knew that he was going to be gone anyway. Like when this transition
wouldn't have
happened.
mattered.
So that's why I'm saying it's kind of a non-story in a way.
Because any M&A deal would likely, jettison him and his executive team. In fact, the 3 CEOs or 4 CEOs or how many people are in there now, they have no chance to stick around. Most likely, it might be one of them, maybe 2 of them out of the bunch. But it's normally what happens, especially since they're going to want to trim down the number of faces that they have to, have running these companies. And somebody has said it in the chat, and it's absolutely correct. The Sony deal with Apollo wouldn't have passed. It wouldn't have passed muster with regulatory approvals and stuff. I agree with that, but it's in some real rough shape. They're in the final leg of this, and Skydance gave its best and final offer. I think they added like a $3 billion sweetener to kind of entice shareholders to accept what's about to happen.
I'm still not sure how Sony it wouldn't go through the regulatory, especially after Disney just bought Fox.
It would take a long time. Oh, the regulators are bemoaning that deal. They would never do it again. That's
they can bemoan it all they want, but now a precedent has been set, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, yes, but they're going to try to put the popcorn back in the box, dude. So yeah, I'm just saying. And they're the toothpaste back in the tube. It's just they want no part of it. All they have to do is figure out just how many different ways they're a monopoly. But I mean, this went exactly as expected, no matter what anybody thinks. So the fact that he walked out the door yesterday, it allowed me to make some great thumbnails over the weekend, knowing exactly what was going to happen. So
yeah. Well, what do we think is going to happen with Paramount overall moving forwards?
I don't know. It's kind of up in the air because I'm still not convinced on the whole Sony part because I'm not sure that I don't understand how they're as big a company as some of these other ones that have gotten to go through. And to me, the better deal for Paramount would be if they got bought out or merged with Sony or Warner Brothers, because Skydance is a bad idea. Because they are part of the reason Skydance is part of the reason Paramount's in the place they are right now. Because like 90% of their output is Skydance produced crap, right? Especially in the last few years. Like they even co-produce like the Mission Impossible movies and stuff like that for them, which they own the rights to. So like it's kind of like one of those things where if Skydance takes over, it's going to pretty much be same bosses. Same as the old boss, or new boss is same as the old boss kind of thing, right? And it would be Ellison most likely. And he could not fucking run a company to save his life. I'm sorry. This kid's...
You and I disagree on that, but it's fine.
We may disagree on that, but...
he doesn't need to run the company. He needs to hire somebody to run the company.
Well,
that's what he needs to do.
My point is this is the guy that has driven Terminator into the ground, for instance. These guys can't even freaking keep... Transformers is one of the easiest things in the world. All you got to do is make a movie where robots fight robots, and they can't even do that crap right. And that's Skydance for you. That's what I'm saying. It would be more of the same, but that's just my opinion on that part. I think that Skydance is a bad deal for everybody involved but Sherry Redstone.
Well, again, she's trying to part with 77% of the voting stock. whoever controls that 77% will be, kind of the god of that company, and they don't want it to be Larry Ellison's kid, or vice versa. So,
but then, then why'd they get rid of? Yeah, okay, never mind.
Well, no, Bob's done. Like, he's at that point where it's done. It's over with. Whoever takes over, whoever buys it, like Culture said, they're going to insert their new group anyway. So, yeah.
Well, it's fascinating stuff regardless. It'll be really interesting to see where this goes moving forward. But yeah,
should have been gone 10 years ago. That's the problem.
Yeah.
If you really want to be serious about it.
But now they got bloody 3 people. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, weird.
Well, and Brian Robbins is the only one of that group that I know of much about. And he might, if he is one of the ones that sticks around, he might be okay, but I don't know. And that's just because
he has some skeletons in his closet, but that's fine.
Just it. Yeah. Like, I don't trust him wholeheartedly, but the one thing I did like about Brian is he's the one that came out and said, when people are like, well, if you do certain things, they'll get offended. And he's like, so don't watch it.
I love that.
Yeah. He's like, don't watch it if you're offended. Right. Like,
we talking
and then
about no way.
Paramount Plus, one of the reasons why I feel like they're doing well is they have the Yellowstone spinoffs and stuff like that. South Park.
Got Knuckles now.
Beavis and well, now, yeah, they also got the few things that have been working for them, Sonic and stuff like that. So,
and then awful Halo.
Yeah, but the problem with Brian is, his connections, I'm sure, with things in Nickelodeon in the past, and he actually was a co-star of what's his face? That's the main focus point of that Nickelodeon
I have no idea.
Documentary. Help me out here, Culture. What's his name?
I've got no idea.
Dan, not Dan Harmon, the other guy. Dan Snyder. Yeah, they were on Head of the Class together, the TV show.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, there you go, guys. Bob Bakish out as Paramount Global CEO, and then a team to move forwards. Very, very interesting. It will be very interesting to see what happens moving forwards. This will shape the industry, I reckon, to be perfectly honest. When Paramount, big powerhouse companies, go through these periods of change, it definitely shapes the industry moving forward. So stay tuned on that.